Welcome to the Ozball Villains podcast. This is podcast number 1. Just a brief introduction. I will be doing a podcast / videocast, so this will be available on YouTube as well. Essentially just a screen recording of me going through certain things, but it can also work for a podcast. So I'll be covering the A League, the scores, recaps of games, stats, news, fantasy even, all that sort of stuff. Ideally weekly, but we'll see how we go. I'll also be doing the NSD next season, obviously, whenever it's ready to start. NPL Victoria mainly. I might cover some other NPL leagues, around the country, maybe towards the business end of the season, final tables or playoffs, something like that. But mostly Victoria. I think it's called VPL now, actually, the top one, and the next one NPL 2 and 3, and maybe even the state leagues as well. Depends how we go. I am always checking the scores all the way even down to State League 5, to be honest. I'm checking the scores weekly and the tables and seeing who's going up and down. It's all very interesting, but we'll see how we go. I'll also cover the Asian leagues, especially Japan and Korea, the bigger ones, of course. J League, or even J2 League and J3 League, to be honest. I follow that, not intensely, but as I said, I'm always checking scores and tables and playoffs. It's always interesting for me. Other leagues around Asia, and that does tie in with the A League, with the Asian Champions League, and just Australia being in the Asian Confederate as well. So Japan, Korea, maybe a bit of China, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, any sort of the leagues that we are competing with in the Champions League, especially with the new format. Very interested to see how that goes. The Asian Champions League Elite, Asian Champions League 2, and even the third one, which I've forgotten the name. Don't know if the Aussie teams will be in that, so I might not be as keen on that, but definitely the top 2. So yeah, I'll be following the leagues. Again, scores, some reviews, table, and of course the playoffs for certain of some of those leagues if they have it. And even there are local cup competitions, because usually the winner of their cup, or the main cup that they have, some have multiple, they will qualify for Asian competitions as well. So again, I'm following the Asian Champions League qualifiers, well, for this season and next season, so it's interesting to see, as I say, where these other Asian teams finish. And again, it ties in with the A League. When an Aussie team has some of these Asian teams in their group, we'll be able to know a bit more about them. Also, the national team, the Socceroos, Australian national football team, we'll be covering that, especially this week with the their first World Cup qualifier matches for the 2026 World Cup. So we're definitely covering that, and the lead up to the Asian Cup campaign next year in Japan, in January in Qatar. And again, I'll also be covering some of the other countries. Again, it's interesting to follow them. Again, the Japans, the Koreas, the other big ones. Again, just so we can have a bit more information about them going into our group stage matches, and of course the World Cup qualifiers, so they tie in nicely. We'll be covering that. Asian Cup and the under-23s one, which is also coming up. So in the coming, it's only 8 weeks away or so. In the coming weeks, we'll be doing some sort of preview. And yeah, just getting prepared for that, and then covering it throughout the tournament. I also do a little bit about South America. That is something I'm interested in. I've been there, seen some games. I follow some of the countries and leagues as well. Not so much. Again, I want to try and keep it more for Australia and Asia, but I'll cover a little bit. Again, World Cup qualifiers mainly, a couple of the leagues, again, maybe towards the business end. Again, just some scores and reviews and just keeping up to date with that. I am trying to make a website as well, pretty much covering everything I'm talking about as well, just sort of a visual format, and YouTube, of course, as I mentioned. Just a website with not necessarily live scores or anything, but just information about teams and leagues, and as I said, national teams and tournaments and competitions and all that. With different sections. Hopefully I'll start doing that soonish or next year. And sort of I wouldn't say a blog space, but a little bit about ground hopping, which is something I'm interested in. That's how I've gotten to know about some of these Asian and South American leagues, by obviously going to the stadiums in person when I've traveled. I like to combine football with travel where I can, especially pre-COVID I did a lot of that. Not so much recently, but I'm always interested in it, or at least reading about it and or sharing my experiences. And for other people, if they're looking to do ground hopping, whether it's around Victoria, of course, Australia, or overseas, hopefully I can make a little space for that. I'm using an app called Footballogy, which some of you might know. It's an app where you check into all the games you've been to or all around the world. It does go pretty in depth, especially overseas. They're going down to like the 10th tier and beyond. Here in Australia, I think it's only, in Victoria it's NPL 1, 2 and 3. So I think for the most states it does their main NPL, maybe 1 or 2 of them. Some go down to 4. I think even in Queensland it goes down to tier 5, if I remember correctly. So I use that, which again I'll try and tie in with the podcast here and there and this website. Just sharing experiences, recommending which matches to go to if you're ever in Melbourne, or as I said, around the country or interstate, overseas, wherever. We'll be talking about that. So let's get started with the first podcast. Okay, let's talk Asian World Cup qualifiers for the 2026 World Cup in Canada, USA, Mexico. We'll start with the Australian national team, of course, Socceroos. I was at this game. It was 7-0, as we all saw. Pretty comprehensive win, as we all expected. Just a matter of how many. I didn't think Bangladesh were ever going to score. I haven't seen much of the Bangladesh national team, obviously. They played, I'll say alright by their standards. I thought they may have sat back a bit more to try and reduce the damage. They seemed to try and attack every time they had the chance, which was very limited, but at least they didn't try and defend. It was the first game of the group, so they went out to see what they could do. 7 in the end. McLaren with a second half hat-trick off the bench. He missed a few other easy opportunities. He could have had 5 or 6. Mitch Duke with the 2. Barello and Suta with the first goal. So a good start as expected. As we can see, we'll be on top of the table. 7 expected goals. That's one of the highest I've seen. 29 attempts. 70 possession. So overall strong performance. I can't say much else about it. As I said, it was half training drill. It's not much to read into these sort of games. The Palestine match, will have a bit more of an analysis, since they're a bit of a better opponent and we're away from home, but we'll get to that soon. Let's just go through some of the other scores. So Japan 5, Myanmar 0. That was also expected. Honestly, I think it could have been even higher. I think last time around it was 10-0. So not as much as last time, to be fair, for Myanmar. They played a bit better. Philippines 0, Vietnam 2. Good result for Vietnam. Away from home. Again, Philippines aren't the strongest in football. Vietnam are up and coming. The youth teams always do well in the under 23s and lower tournaments. So honestly, I would expect them to do well in this campaign, especially with more spots now. That'd be one of my dark horses to make it, potentially, or get close at least. South Korea 5, Singapore 0. Again, expect the results. Singapore never strong, smaller country, smaller population. And South Korea, well behind Japan, are probably the strongest in Asia. So I was expected 5-0. Now Thailand 1, China 2. A little bit of a surprise, especially at home for Thailand. I know they missed a few chances early on, but they would have expected to have at least come away with a draw there. So they'd be very disappointed with that result. China very happy though, away from home, 2-1 win. Again, they've been poor lately in recent years, so they'd be very happy with that start. We continue. Malaysia 4, Kyrgyzstan 3. It was a great result by Malaysia. I know they were expected to win, but I think they came from 3-1 down to snatch that win. So a great result there. Tajikistan 1, Jordan 1. Good result for Tajikistan. Even though they were at home, Jordan are stronger. So that's a good start for Tajikistan. Lebanon 0, Palestine 0, and the other teams from our group 0-0. So Lebanon aren't playing in their home stadiums, so despite it being a home match, it's a bit more of a neutral playing field. Palestine are better though, so I think honestly it's a fair result first game around. Again, with what's all going on in Palestine, they are a bit distracted. Turkmenistan 1, Uzbekistan 3. I think Turkmenistan got the early goal there, but the Uzbeks reined it back in. I think they are also one of my dark horses to make it to the World Cup. I think they, again, like Vietnam, they have a lot of youth talent coming through, and they always seem to do well in the lower tournaments. So a good start for them. Expect the result. Iran 4, Hong Kong 0. Also expected. I didn't see much of this, but I would, again, similar to the Bangladesh game, just a matter of how many goals against the smaller Hong Kong. Iraq 5, Indonesia 1. Strong start for Iraq. Also putting them down as one of my potential favourites to make it. Iraq, despite what's going on over there, which has been going on for a while, they did win the Asian Cup once, and they're always in and thereabouts in qualifiers. So I think, again, with the more spots, I think they have a good chance. Oman 3, Taiwan 0. Again, expect the result for the Oman. Qatar 8, Afghanistan 1. Now that's a big result, and again, as expected, maybe not that high, especially with Qatar, who can be up and down despite winning the Asian Cup. Now Afghanistan did have a red card, and I think they fielded, honestly, I think it was a third string side. I think nearly 20 of their players are protesting against their FA for corruption and all that, and of course what's going on in their country doesn't help. So honestly, it should have been higher. If you think of Qatar playing a third string Afghanistan side already weak in general, and they managed to score, which is crazy. UAE 4, Nepal 0. Again, expect a result for the UAE. Kuwait 0, India 1. That's a surprise. India away from home. Very strong start. Again, Kuwait aren't top team, but that's still a great result for India. I think, again, I wouldn't put them as a dark horse to make this World Cup, and maybe the next one. They are starting to pick up a bit, again, with that amount of population. I know they follow cricket, but with that population, they can get something together. Their league seemed to be okay-ish as well. A bit of money, build up the league, get some more natural players going. I think they, maybe for the 2030 World Cup, will have a chance. Saudi Arabia 4, Pakistan 0. Expect the result. Could have been more. Again, I think that might have been not a full side and a bit of experimenting, but yeah, not much expected from Pakistan. They're already happy just to be there after qualifying against Cambodia. Syria 1, North Korea 0. North Korea's first game, I think first seniors game back in a while. I think they played some under 23 game, or they played against under 23, I'm not sure. First game back since COVID. 1-0 loss to Syria. Again, Syria not too bad. I wouldn't put them in as a dark horse yet. Almost like Iraq, between Iraq and India. A bit of a chance. And final game of the match week 1 or game day 1. Yemen 0, Bahrain 2. Again, expect a result. Yemen never strong. Bahrain a good win away from home. Now let's move to next game week results. Pakistan 1, Tajikistan 6. So Pakistan getting their first goal finally. They'd be happy with that, not the results. I think they got it when it was 2-1. Obviously Tajikistan too strong. Myanmar 1, North Korea 6. So again, Myanmar at least scoring, but North Korea with 6, which is a great result for them. As I said, their first win in these qualifiers and their first win in a while. I think again since 2019, so they'd be happy. Taiwan 0, Malaysia 1. Malaysia sneaking over the line there against the smaller Taipei. Philippines 1, Indonesia 1. Philippines with the earlier goal. Indonesia pegging them back. Good result for the Philippines though. I think Indonesia should have won that. So not too bad. Indonesia off to a bad start. They still got Vietnam to come. Well, it's in March next year. Bangladesh 1, Lebanon 1. The other game in our group. Not bad by Bangladesh. Again, I would have expected Lebanon to win that. Bangladesh at home, so they'd be very happy with that. They get a goal and a point, give them some confidence going into the next rounds. China 0, South Korea 3. Again, expected. South Korea too strong. Disappointing by China at home, but again, South Korea are too strong, home or away. Hong Kong 2, Turkmenistan 2. That's not a bad result for Hong Kong at home. Turkmenistan aren't too bad, but away from home, I think that's a fair result. Singapore 1, Thailand 3. Thailand bouncing back. Again, I would have expected to have beaten China. They could have started on 6 points along with South Korea. But at least they got a result here away from home. And the final game, Vietnam 0, Iraq 1. Very good result by Iraq. They've started off with 6 points as well. So that would be happy with that. We'll go into the Palestine-Australia game. So 0-1. Harry Suter with the goal. Early goal across again from Goodwin. This time from a corner and the header. So as expected, he's just tall and he just gets his head on it. And we come away with the win. As I said, maybe could have expected a few more goals. I didn't watch it actually. I fell asleep. I'm getting old. Didn't even get to the kickoff, to be honest. I fell asleep at midnight. But yeah, good result. Matt Ryan made a couple of good saves, including one fingertip save from close range. As I said though, the stats very similar. So again, one of those scrappy games, one against some of those Arab nations away from home. It's always like that, even though it was in Kuwait. Not against Kuwait, but still in that area. Again, we'd be happy to take the result. And we are now 6 from 6. Let's keep going. We have Uzbekistan 2, Iran 2. That is a good result for Uzbekistan. As I said, dark horses. Iran usually one of the stronger ones behind Japan, Korea, I think Iran and Australia. So I'd be very happy with that result. Nepal 0, Yemen 2. That is a good result for Yemen. They're both one of the weaker ones. Again, away from home, they would be happy with that. India 0, Qatar 3. A bit disappointing by India at home. I know I expect Qatar to win, but with their little confidence boost to India in the first game week, I would have thought they could have maybe snuck a result, or at least scored, but Qatar come away. Kyrgyzstan 1, Oman 0. That's a good result for Kyrgyzstan at home. They don't do too well usually, so to beat Oman at home, they will be happy with that. Palestine 0, Australia 1, as we said. Syria 0, Japan 5. Japan just cruising along there in some great form. Even in their friendlies, they've destroyed Germany and I think Mexico and some others. So 5-0 away from home as expected. That's what Australia doesn't seem to be able to do. We can beat the really small ones by +5 or at home only, but away from home, I can't see us ever getting a 5-0 result against Syria. Bahrain 0, UAE 2. even game, but UAE come away with the points there. Jordan 0, Saudi Arabia 2. Saudi Arabia, comfortable win away from home. Jordan not off to a good start there with 1 point only. And Afghanistan 0, Kuwait 4 as expected. I think that was played in Saudi Arabia or somewhere neutral. Again, a second or third string side out there for Afghanistan, so expect a result for Kuwait to bounce back after losing to India. So have a quick look at the tables. Group A, Qatar on top, then Kuwait, India, Afghanistan. I think Qatar should come away with it. India, though, have a good chance, as I said, to make it to the next round. They've already beaten Kuwait. Qatar expected to probably nearly beat everyone, so it comes down to that reverse fixture, India, Kuwait. Everyone should be beating Afghanistan. Group B, Japan on top, then North Korea, Syria, Myanmar. Similar to the group above, Japan are going to cruise and probably get the 18 points. Myanmar at the bottom with probably 0. North Korea, Syria battling it out. So we'll see how that one turns out. North Korea already got the results. So, oh no, Syria beat North Korea, sorry. So I think Syria, when they play in North Korea, it'll all come down to that one. If they can get a draw, they should be through. South Korea on top of Group C, then Thailand, China, Singapore. Again, another very similar group. South Korea max points, Singapore probably none. It comes down to Thailand, China, reverse fixture in China. China just need a draw and they should make it. I'm skipping ahead here a lot, but that's how I'm guessing. Now this one's a bit more of an even one. Malaysia, Oman, Kyrgyzstan, and Taiwan. Now Taiwan might not get 0 points. I think they can sneak some points somewhere. They do play Kyrgyzstan at home next, so maybe there. Malaysia, as I said, aren't usually strong, and Oman aren't either. So that's one of the weaker groups. I would expect Oman to be on top, then Malaysia, Kyrgyzstan, Taiwan. That will be tight. Group E, Iran on top. Then Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and Hong Kong. I would expect Iran and Uzbekistan to make it comfortably. I don't expect Turkmenistan or Hong Kong. They might sneak a few points here and there, but I think those two should comfortably make it. Group F, Iraq, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia. Bit of an even one as well. I would have expected Iran and Vietnam, as I said, my two dark horses, but Indonesia and Philippines could get some surprise results in that region, especially those three being rivals and all near each other, the ASEAN countries. Group G, Saudi Arabia on top, then Tajikistan, Jordan, and Pakistan. Again, I would expect Pakistan to not get many points and Saudi Arabia to get a lot. Pakistan might get a few surprise results towards the end, maybe against Tajikistan, who, well, they are in second. They did get a good result against Jordan, so that would be a tight result for second place. Hopefully Tajikistan can get a surprise there. Group H, UAE on top, then Bahrain, Yemen, and Nepal. I would expect, again, UAE and Bahrain to make it. Nepal, I don't think will get many points. Yemen already got a win against them, and probably in the reverse fixture, just to give some pressure on Bahrain for second place. That might be a bit tighter than we think. And finally, in Group I, Australia, Lebanon, Palestine, Bangladesh. Hopefully we can get the maximum amount of points. I think we should at home win all the games. Away from home, Bangladesh, yes. The only other tricky one maybe away from home in a neutral game against Lebanon. But we'll see how we go. But I would expect to be top for second place. Honestly, I think Palestine, Lebanon aren't great, so I would expect it to be Palestine. We'll see how it goes. They do play Bangladesh, so they would get the early points in the next fixture, and then in fourth match I think they play them again, so they should be on 7 points by then. Okay, let's do a quick recap of Game Week 4 from the A-League 2023-24 season. Now, I know it was a couple of weeks ago, but there was an international break, which we just covered for the World Cup qualifiers. So, first game was Melbourne Victory 1, Wellington Phoenix 1. On Friday night, now I was there actually, and it was one of the more interesting games we've had in the A-League. I thought that the VAR decisions, well, they took too long, of course, as they always do. That Wellington offside decision, I think, was wrong. That Yeah, I don't think that's why VAR was brought in, or not to be overturned for. I think, yeah, that was too long and pretty much the wrong decision in the end. But yeah, Wellington were hard done by, especially in the first half. There was that dive that was given a yellow, which don't think that was either. That was from Pennington. I think that was a foul, if anything. Definitely not a dive. At least don't call it, but not a dive. And so early on, guess he's trying to stamp that out early, but if you're going to stamp it out, make it the right decision. And then that penalty shout as well. I think it was Kryev who got pushed in the back or jumped over in the penalty box. That could have also been a penalty to Wellington. Apart from that, they didn't do much else. Obviously scored that own goal, which I think Zavada was going to score it anyway, but then again, that may have been offside had he scored it, which would have been another VAR decision, I'm sure. But yeah, victory early goal for Ryan Teague. Good build-up play and nice finish. First goal for the club. And then, as we said, Danny De Silva own goal. Second half was a bit dull. Again, Victory had some chances. They just couldn't finish in the end. Wellington, as it's been reported many times, 0 expected goals, 0 goal attempts, 0 shots, 0 corners even. So very interesting scoreline to get the 1-1. They did defend all right in parts, but Victory should have finished. I could say a fair result, 1-1, kind of, based on the referee decisions as well. So we'll leave it at that, 1-1. Next game was Western United versus Newcastle Jets. The Jets coming away with a 1-0 win. Stamatopoulos scoring again. I think he's up to now, I will go over the top scorers later, but he's up to now 4 goals for the season, behind Zavada and Fornaroli, who we were just talking about in the previous match. So he started very well. There was a disallowed goal for Pena, but I do believe that went out. I think everyone can agree with that. Nice goal, but offside. Down in Ballarat there, low crowd as expected. I think the Ballarat show was going on in the background. I could even see it when I was watching. And there seemed to be quite a few people there, probably more people than at the ground actually. But that's Western United. Not until they find a home and a bit more stable, I think their numbers will jump up. I think December or early next year they're going to be playing at that training ground. I'd hopefully try and get down to a match, see how it is there. And also they need the results to get people on board as well, which they haven't got today. So again, Newcastle coming away with that. Even game, defending for their lives in the end, the Jets. But in the end, they held on. The next game was the Wanderers and Perth Glory. Wanderers coming away with a 2-0 win. I saw a bit of this match. 2 goals in quick time for Clisby and Russell in the early parts of the second half. I think they were the better side. More possession, more shots. Perth have started all right, to be honest. But yeah, I think the Wanderers are having a great season and they're going to do well this season. I don't think they've even conceded at home yet in their 3 matches. I think they're 7 goals and 0 against. I think one of them was a draw, actually 2 wins and a draw if I'm correct. So yeah, great start for them. We'll see if they can continue it on. I think there's a Sydney Derby coming up this week, so it'll be very interesting to see that. Hopefully a great big crowd and a great game. Do well for the league overall. Next game, well, Adelaide 1, Sydney FC 5. Now, I don't think too many people expected this a couple of weeks ago. I think it was, 4-0 at half-time. Adelaide getting booed off at home. That was definitely not expected. Maybe once Croker got sacked, there are a few people who do believe in the new manager bounce. It does seem to always work with all over the world in all different leagues. And this one was no exception. I mean, said 4-0 at half time and just dominating, not just sort of counter-attack goals. They just outplayed them the whole match. Lolly just played amazingly, probably the best game, well, best half definitely. Still continued on in the second half, got another assist. But 2 goals and 2 assists. It's incredible. And Kaczarski 2 goals. Finally getting a start and doing very well. And then Adelaide pulling one back, Clough from the penalty spot. But yeah, it was all Sydney that match. The stats actually look pretty even. But if you saw the game, it was always Sydney FC, literally from the first minute. So Tyler has done well. And well, I guess Sydney are back. They're always up there. But with Tale and now this confidence, as I said, that derby coming up, I wouldn't say season defining, it's very early for that, but it will be a very big game. It'll be interesting to see who gets the result there. Melbourne City 3, MacArthur FC 3. Now, another classic A-League finish. 0-0 at half-time, 3-3 by the end of the second half. McLaren with the first goal, and then Davila, who played amazingly well. Didn't start the last 2 matches. He's back now. And a goal and an assist to make it 3-1 to MacArthur. And this was in the 88th minute. And then somehow City just pulling 2 goals back. McLaren again, and Antonis stepping up to take the penalty over McLaren's hat-trick. But he scored, so good decision there. Just, yeah, another wild A-League finish. City dominating in the stats as well. 22 goal attempts to 6. Anyway, MacArthur would have taken a point, I think, before the game, but when you're 3-1 up in the 88th minute, I think they're definitely disappointed with that. Still, they've done well this season. They're in 4th. Okay, we'll go through the ladder later. But I think they're happy with their start so far. And City, well, no, but again, sacking coach. I can't say that they're back either, but just by default you expect City and Sydney to be up there. They've had a bit of a slow start, but they'll catch up, and I would still be expecting them to play finals. And the final match were the Mariners 1, Brisbane Roar 2. So the Roar winning away against the champions. A poor start for the Mariners as expected, losing all the players, the manager. It is going to take quite some time, maybe even a whole season, to be honest. I'm sure they'll pick up, they'll go on some win streaks, but even at this stage you can't see them playing the finals. Still a long way to go, of course. There's this international break, they could have collected themselves and hit back, but yeah, not a great start. 19 shots to 10 by the Mariners. They just couldn't get that result yet. So to the table, as we said, the Mariners on the bottom, still no wins, 4 losses and only 2 goals scored, same as Western United. They need to be scoring more goals. Sydney FC and City, as we said, and I think the bottom 4 were the top 4, so it's a bit of a reversal. But as I said, City and Sydney, we expect them to come back up. Still early days. I don't think you need to look at the table. I mean, I'm looking at it now, but I wouldn't be looking at the table for the first, honestly, 20, maybe even 10 rounds. I mean, keeping an eye on it, of course, but it doesn't say too much, especially in a smaller league. Teams jump up and down multiple places, even towards the end of the league. Another 38 game seasons. You can't jump as many places, especially at the end, but even in this league, you can jump 2 or 3 places in any day or any round. I'll still look, and at the top, 8 points for the Wanderers, Victory, Phoenix and MacArthur. I think only the Wanderers would have expected to have 8 at the start of the season. Victory, well, bad season here and there, usually one of the strongest sides, as we know, but they have started very well. 2 wins and then 2 draws. Phoenix have done very well, still undefeated as well, and MacArthur, as we said, disappointed with that result, but 8 points at the start of the season. I think they'd be happy with that. And Adelaide, Brisbane, Newcastle and Perth in the middle. I think honestly all expected. Adelaide, again, with our good win, you would have thought it'd take some time to adjust, but they did start well. Of course, they came against that new Tale Sydney for that loss. But yeah, tough to say with them. Not many signings. Still expect them to play playoffs. They're usually good youth products. We'll see how they go. It'll be very interesting to see. And the two ownerless Jets and Glory, 5 and 4 points respectively. Again, always in and about for the finals. We'll see how they go. Too early for predictions. I don't have any. Well, it's already game week 4. I didn't have any predictions before the season. I think I did put one attempted table predictor on Reddit in one of the threads there, but I've just started this podcast now, so I don't have any predictions. But well, if I keep going for years to come, I think I will do a prediction podcast for the future seasons. So that's the table, and as we said, the top scorers, Fornaroli still on 6 despite not scoring last week. Obviously 4 goals against the Jets. Zavada and Stamatolopoulos have started well. McLaren is coming up, and the rest are on double or single goals. So interesting to see who would win that. Fornaroli with a head start. I don't see him playing 90 minutes every week, so I think he'll be caught up obviously by McLaren as expected, and I guess Zavada might be down to those 3 early on, but again, early to say. We'll see how they go. Let's look at the next games. As we said, the Sydney Derby is coming up. Really looking forward to watching that one. But first, it's Macarthur FC vs Melbourne Victory on Friday nights. Interesting game. As I said, both started well, both on 8 points. One of those could get to the top of the table. I think it might be a draw. We'll see how we go. Phoenix and home to City. Well, I'm going to say form suggests that it'll be a great match. City, as I said, still expected to do well. We'll see how they go over in New Zealand. The Mariners and the Jets in the F3 Derby. That'll be a good game. I think the Mariners should lift. They've had the break. They've had 4 losses in a row. If they don't lift for that, then again, I don't want to go early and say it's season defining like the Sydney FC one, but it would be a very important match and you would not want to lose that one. Sydney FC vs Wanderers, as we said. I don't know what's going to happen in that match. Hopefully it's as an entertaining 3-all draw in another A-League Classic. We'll see how that goes next Saturday night. Brisbane Roar vs Perth Glory. Brisbane at home, I think, should get the job done. And Western United and Adelaide United. I think that is down in Ballarat again. So, again, that's a tough one to call. I think Adelaide should bounce back after that poor game a couple of weeks ago. We'll see how we go. Okay, let's talk about fantasy for those who are interested. I'm doing fantasy for the A-League men this season as well as the tipping. So I'll try and do, like I said, a bit of a review of my team and just all the players in general. Who's doing well, who's not, price changes, things like that. So after 4 rounds, I'm on 344 points. Apparently in the top 15%, so a ranking of about 1,000 out of 6,600 players. Last week I got 117, which I think was pretty good for me. I think it was my highest score for the season. So let's have a look at the team. I think the strikers finally did well. So I'll start at the strikers. McLaren 21 points as captain, so 42. Finally did well, still went down in value because of his other poor weeks, as it's a 3-week moving average for the price changes. Tulio, 12 points. Again, also went down. Didn't do well for the first 3 matches, but finally got some points. And Gomez, who I did have on the bench though, he got more than all of them, 22 points. And he did go up because he's been okay-ish. Missed a few chances, but finally a big breakthrough score. I did have him on the bench, but I was still quietly hoping he did get a high score because I think I was actually about to transfer him out if he did not do well this weekend. He has, so I think he will stay in the team now. In the middle, O'Shea got 9 points. Not as many goals or assists as I would have liked so far this season, but he still seems to rack up points, I guess, with his big chances, his passing, just the general best player in the team. And this fantasy does reward a bit more of an individual performance. If you play the fantasy Premier League in England, it's more about goals, assists, clean sheets, bonus points counts, but it's only 3-2-1. I know their scoring is different and lower in general, but the A-League one is a bit more personalised, which does help those players who just don't always score assists. They can still get points like O'Shea has done. He will score an assist too, of course, and I think he was probably the top player last season, him or Goodwin or McLaren. I think it was not McLaren, it was either him or Goodwin. Arslan got 2 points. He did start well this season. He's came off injured, so I'm going to have to check that out. If he's out, I might get him out if it's a long-term injury. I don't think it is. I have to check it out. It's only a week. I'll keep him. Altay and Danzaki, my 2 cheaper players I was hoping would go up in value and get points. They have done neither. They're both at $150 and $700 now, averaging 3 points each. So I think I'm going to get rid of one of those 2, either for another cheap up-and-coming player, which I have to check out, or on a bit of an upgrade. I do want to bring in Lolly right now before he goes skyrocketing value for that 40 points, and I think he's back in form. I wouldn't say it's now or never. I know he'll dip a bit, but I will lose 3, 4, 5 weeks of points if I don't get him in now and before his value goes too high. In defense, Tate Russell, 25 points, thanks to a clean sheet and a goal. It's a fantastic return. He's averaging 13.3, so it wasn't just a fluke. He's done really well this season. Nicolau did well last or 2 weeks ago with an assist. This week only -1, so he still went up in value, but he might struggle to go up in the next couple of weeks. The other 3 defenders, much like Altay and Danzaki, I would like to get rid of one of these 3 in Docker, Paul, or Talbot. They just haven't done well yet. Teams haven't done well either. Negative points, averaging 3.5, 2.3, -1 Talbot's averaging. He was one of the popular picks. I think he started at 190, he's down to 150. Everyone has him. I had him on the bench this week, but 1 point would have been better than Nicolau's -1 point. So we're looking again, much like the midfield, either for another cheap defender or an upgrade. We'll see how we go. I do have a bit of money in the bank. I have 223. So I won't do any transfers now, just some mental planning. I'll do them on Friday, as usual. Again, this is not time dependent, much like the Fantasy Premier League, where the prices change every day at like 2 a.m. This one, again, is based on a 3-game average, moving average, so you do have time to do it, and it's better to wait in case of injuries or late team news. I think the team lineups come out Thursday afternoon, which I'll check out. In goal, Paulson and Hewitt-Bell both done well. Paulson 10-point average and Hewitt-Bell half that at 5. I think I had Paulson on 3 of the 4 game weeks, so I've got most of his points. I'll be keeping both of them for some time until Paulson maybe becomes too valuable for his point output, especially if Wellington dip and don't keep cleaning more clean sheets, but we'll see how we go. Let's see the top players overall. Fornaroli, 63 points. Despite getting 1 point last week, he's still number 1 for now. He's going to have to get a goal next week, or else I think he'll be overtaken by the chasing pack in Clisby, Clough, Marcelo, or Lolly already, who's up to 5th place, 58 points with that 40. As I said, he already went up 73k, so he's at 455. Whether I go Arslan to Lolly, we'll see. I can't upgrade one of those cheap players. It's just not enough. But I would like to bring him up before it's too late. Only aimed by 8.8%. I think a lot of people got him out, but they're going to start bringing him back in. Fornaroli 20%. Speaking of value, Tate Russell, who I have, and Taylor, both up a lot. Two of the top three I have. Milanovic also up a lot. And Kucharski, interesting one. Only 0.6% of teams own him. That's 38 teams in total. He got 27 points, only 6 points in the other 3 matches. He went up 71k, he's now 221. So he could be one I could bring in, but I think he's a forward. So, I know he's a forward, sorry, but I think he won't be consistent, even for game time and or points. And I do want to keep Gomez, Tulio, and McLaren. So I'll keep my eye on him, but again, with younger players, they do tend to be a bit more inconsistent. So we'll get 27 this week, then 2 points next week, and then who knows, another 20 up and down. So not right now, but we'll keep an eye on him. Players who have gone down, who might be valuable now. Brimmer is down to 319k. He went down 90k. He played his 3rd match, all off the bench, so he hasn't been playing bad. He's just been he's only played about 15 minutes average in the 3 matches. 8 points in total. So I will keep my eye on him. He may have come back after this international break. If he starts starting and getting a couple of scores here and there, then he will be one to bring in. I think he'll go down next week as well. I haven't paid for the premium or the assistant coach here, whatever they call it. I think that tells you their break-even score. I have a feeling it would be pretty high since he's only averaging 2.7. So one to watch when he does start playing, and he might even be below 300k by then. So it'd be very tempting, especially if Victory keep up their good form. Brimmer, we know, can score and is on set pieces, so we'll watch that one. De Silva as well, he's down to 277. Pena as well, down. If he starts finishing, he'd be one to watch. Just again, not settling yet. Western United aren't playing well. I don't really want to bring him in. People did say bring him in at the start of the year. That was when he was at 450 or something. He's now down to 314. I still don't think I'd get him. And Aziz Beige down to 231. City don't keep many clean sheets these days either. He can get up and get some points though, so one to watch. It's at 16% ownership. And the other significant drop player is Jay O'Shea, as I said, but I just think he will consistently score. He's still getting a 13 average and he went down. That's just how high his standards are. I think he was 2nd overall last season behind Goodwin, if not 1st. I don't plan on selling him at all year, so I don't care if his value goes up or down, unless he gets injured, of course. Then that would be a problem if he's on the slide and got injured. But I think he'll be fine and we'll keep him all year. Now let's have a look at the tipping. If you play that, I am apparently ranked 526 out of 3,000 players. I didn't think I've been doing that well, to be honest. I only seem to be getting about 2 or 3 points a week out of the 6 games. Obviously with football it's a bit harder because of the draw. There are 3 options to pick from technically, as opposed to, say, the AFL. It's usually a win or a loss. There's very rarely a draw, maybe 2 in the whole season. So this week, MacArthur and Victory, I'm going for a draw down in MacArthur. I think Victory could snatch it, but I think MacArthur may hold them to a draw. Phoenix versus City. I've gone for City, actually. I think they're going to bounce back. I mean, they did draw last week, but bounce back in general from their poor start. Phoenix, inconsistent. They are at home. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw, to be honest. I've just gone for City. I just think they might do it over there. Newcastle Jets versus the Mariners in the derby. Now, that still says McDonald Jones Stadium. I think they've switched it to Central Coast Stadium. And then the reverse fixture will be switched the other way next year. So I have gone the Jets. I did put these tips in before. With that home ground switch, I still think I will go for the Jets. Wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw now that it's in Gosford, but just with the poor start for the Mariners, I don't think they're actually going to come up for this game. But again, could be a draw with that home switch. Sydney FC and the Wanderers. I've actually gone for Sydney FC in the derby. The Sydney derby will be a great game. I think Sydney FC with the confidence and the form. I mean, again, of course, in a derby it is hard to pick, especially with form and only 4 games to go by. Coaches are switched as well for Sydney FC, so it's a hard one to pick, but I'm going for Sydney FC. Brisbane Roar versus the Glory. I've gone for the Roar at home. I think they'll be too good for the Glory. And in the final match, Western United at home to Adelaide. I think that, it's in Mars, in Ballarat. I think Adelaide will get it done. I think they'll bounce back after their poor game last game week. And Western United just are not inspiring and aren't playing great. I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's 0-1 to Adelaide. So that's it for the tips. We'll see how we go next week with the results. So the big news is the NSD or NST, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, we haven't got an official name. Has been announced to start in 2025. So that is exciting times, especially for someone like me. I grew up on 32, so I did see the latter years of the NSL, so I'm familiar with a lot of these teams. The ones that have made it, the ones that haven't. I still just try and follow the NPL leagues, well, especially around Victoria, but around some of the other states. So I do recognise a lot of these names. But yeah, it's exciting times. I'm sure we all know now, the teams are Apia Leichhardt, New South Wales, Avondale, Victoria, Marconi Stallions, New South Wales, Preston Lions, Victoria, South Melbourne, Victoria, Sydney Olympic, New South Wales, Sydney United, New South Wales, and the Wollongong Wolves down in New South Wales. So those are the 8. They announced that there will be at least 2 more before the competition commences in 2025, up to 4. So either have a 10-team or a 12-team tournament league. I don't mind 10 to begin with. 12 would also be nice. Some of the potential teams, as we can see up here, that have submitted bids. We've still got a chance for Canberra, Croatia, Melbourne Knights, but I don't think so. I think there's a money issue. Their chairman resigned. South Hobart's Sunshine Coast Fire. Those are the potential teams. There's a few other ones as well. I think in Queensland, that Sunshine... Oh, no, I already said the Sunshine Coast Fire. I personally wouldn't mind 10, as I said. I would add in, just for the fun of it, Canberra, Croatia, and South Hobart to have something down in Tassie. Again, we can add another 2 more, and then with the plan of promotion relegation, it wouldn't even matter in the end. There could be A-League teams dropping down there. That won't be a long, long while away. I think at least 5 years, or even beyond 2030. But the promotion relegation between the NPL and the NSD, I think will come soon, maybe within the 5 years. Again, no need to rush. I think get it right first, see how the NSD goes in terms of crowds, money, viewers, general interest. But in the long run, I would like to have, I guess, A-League men, top tier, 16 teams. So everyone plays each other twice, home and away. That would make 30 rounds. That would be a great tournament. I think we'd still stick with top 6 finals. I don't mind that system. If we do go to a top 8, we could go sort of AFL style, where you play first versus fourth, second versus third. Loser gets a second chance and plays the winner of 5th versus 8th and 6th versus 7th. And then you go to the semis and the grand final. Maybe... But I don't mind the current system either, especially with the double leg. I don't think we'd have the double leg in the AFL style. Maybe not. Might be too long then. That'd be coming about 5-6 weeks worth of finals, unless we only have double leg for semis or the first round. I don't know. but I don't mind the current system. Maybe 2 get relegated. We either have 1 directly relegated and then the second relegation is a playoff with the second place in the NSD, maybe. But 1 going down for now and then 1 coming up. Obviously, the champion of the NSD would go straight up. Again, I'm guessing they'd play finals. Let's say they have 12 clubs for now, ideally 16 by the end of it. But if it's 12, again, maybe just the top 4. First versus 4th, second versus 3rd. They might be a bit harsh on the first team to make it to the top and then just lose the first game. Or you could have double leg just to give them the extra security. Or not. Again, you can just have the old European style. Top is the winner, and second division though in Europe they usually do have playoffs, so maybe a playoffs is fine. First place goes directly up, and then second place does too. If not, they play a playoff against the second bottom of the A League. Either way, I'm happy with either one of those. Again, as long as we get it going, not rushed and done properly, but as long as it's there. Now, relegation from the NSD to the NPLs is a tough one. I think, obviously, bottom of the NSD goes down. So, then, I'll say 1 for now. I'll get into the 2 later. Let's just say 1 goes down. Now, obviously, it depends on which state they're from. Let's just say New South Wales goes down. And if a New South Wales club goes up from the NPL, then that's just a straight swap. In the event that it's not, say a New South Wales goes down, Victorian club goes up, then we're going to have some uneven numbers in the NPL. So the NPL New South Wales will have 1 extra side, which means they have to relegate an extra team down to the NPL 2 or whatever they call it. It's NSW League 1 here, as it says. And then they just keep pushing an extra one down all the way down till, I don't know, to the bottom or the end of the NPL chain. Same with Victoria, they'll have 1 less because they've had 1 promoted up to NSD and not 1 down. So they would have to promote an extra one up from NPL 1, NPL 2, even into the state leagues. It might even affect State League 5 somehow, where they're missing an extra team by the end of it. But again, a lot of these teams are always, some are dropping out. There's extra teams waiting in the wings at the bottom who want to come up. Some of the Metro teams as well. So it shouldn't affect it too much, especially down there. I think that's the way we go. If it's 2 down, 2 up, same thing, just doubled up. Again, they do it in a lot of countries, especially when you get to the lower leagues. I think Germany is a good example. There, after 3rd tier, it splits up into 5 regions. And I think that's a similar one I wanted to do for the NPL. Since we have 8 states and territories, but technically 9 because of northern New South Wales. Now, Football NT doesn't seem to be part of the NPL connection. I still think we should include them. They never played in the old NPL national playoffs between 2013 and 2019. And they never do well in the Australian Cup. I think they've lost every round of 32 game they put out there, and then they keep getting belted like 6-0, especially that Darwin Olympic. So I'm not sure if we include them and we just do 8. So the winner of each NPL of the 8 excluding NT. And then they, as I said, do the Champions League playoff that they're planning to do from 2025 onwards. So I'm guessing 2 groups of 4. Top 2 teams make it. That'll be 4. They play semi-finals and then a final, whether it's double leg, I don't know, in the semis. Final at a neutral ground, I'm guessing, or not. And the winner goes up. Now that means, I guess, the stronger states are always going to make it. Is that a bit unfair? Or do they all have an equal chance once they get there because they're all at the top? We'll see. If not, we might have to split it so it is even to give, as I said, the smaller ones like a Northern New South Wales or a Tasmania or NT. If we do include NT, that'll be 9. I think we may have to have some sort of rotation. I don't know how we're going to turn 9 into 8. There might have to be a play-in between the 8th and 9th ranked. I don't know how you determine who's 8th and 9th. Again, like the Germany one with their 5 4th division team leagues, they have a rotation every year. So 4 teams go down from League 3. Only 4 can go up out of 5 leagues. So 1 league misses out each year, and they have a rotation where 3 of the leagues, they automatically go up, and then the 4th and 5th league, they play each other. And I think they rotate each year. So I don't know if we can do that. It'd be a big rotation. It'd be over 8 years, so it might be a bit silly to turn that 9 into 8, but we'll see how we go. But anyway, good news, at least it's on board. I'm excited for this, 2025. With these 8 clubs. Again, I know it's a big, strong Victoria, New South Wales contingent, but I'm sure they will spread it out over time. These are the main ones to maybe get people interested. And as I said, the ones that are potentially coming in are from different states. So you've got, as I said, the Tasmania, ACT, Queensland potential ones. Of course, there are still Victoria and New South Wales ones waiting. But as I said, by the time it's starting and there's promotion relegation, again, hopefully it's not always Victoria and New South Wales teams because they are the strongest. There are some decent ones down in South Australia, even Queensland. WA, not too many. Again, ACT probably only the one. Darwin and NT, not so strong. Tasmania, not so strong. Northern New South Wales, but as I said, at least it's getting done, and we'll keep following this with interest. Okay, let's take a look at the J1 League 2023. We're nearly at the end of this. I think there's 2 weeks left now. Some very interesting results, especially at the top and the bottom of the table. The first one was Yokohama F Marinos, 2-0 over Cerezo Osaka. They are chasing Vissel Kobe, who were playing third place Urawa Reds away from home, and they managed to come away with a 2-1 win. They scored in the 72nd minute, Vissel Kobe did, and then the Reds scored in the 91st minute, which would have made the title race, I think, almost equal points. Then Osaka in the 96th minute comes away with a winner for Vissel Kobe, so equaling Marino's win. The table is now Kobe on 65 points and the Marinos on 63 points. 2 games left. Vissel Kobe actually have a +4 goal difference on the Marinos as well. So 2 points and 4 goals. Both in good form. That's going to come down to the final match day. I will take a look at the fixtures soon, but let's take a look at the bottom of the table. Probably 3 teams in it to get the 1 relegated spot. In 18th, it's Kashiwa, Reysol, Shonan Bellmari, and Yokohama FC. So 1 Yokohama at the top, 1 at the bottom, as expected though. But all 3 came away with results. The bottom 2 with wins, and Kashiwa with a draw. So Yokohama beat Sagan Tosu 3-1 away. Now Sagan Tosu aren't great, but that's still a big win by Yokohama. Very good win. Shonan Bellman meet Nagoya Grampus. Now that was a tougher win. Nagoya Grampus are up in 5th or 4th at the time, and Shonan Bellman win 2-1 to survive the late scare, but they held on to win 2-1. And Kashiwa drew with Kashima, who were in 6th place away from home. So that's a good result as well. They did concede an 87th minute penalty though, so they almost had all 3 points, making all bottom 3 teams winning. But they would be happy with a point. If we look at the table now, it's Yokohama at the bottom, 29 points, but negative 25 goal difference. Shonan Bellmari, 31, same as Kashiwa, 31. They both have similar goal difference. 2 games left, 2 points between the 3 teams. Bottom 2 both have picked up, they haven't lost, they've only had 1 loss in their last 4 matches, Yokohama, and Shonan Bellmare, no losses in their last 4 matches. Kashiwa, 2 draws, so they are in the worst form. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. I am going to have a look at the fixtures now for the last 2 games. So we'll look at the top first. Yokohama have Albirex Niigata. They're at home, they're mid-placed, whereas Vissel Kobe are at home to Nagoya Grampus, who are in 5th. So a tougher fixture for Vissel. I'll look ahead in the next game week, which is in start of December. Yokohama, are away to Kyoto. Kyoto are 14th, whereas Vissel Kobe are away to Gamba Osaka. Sort of a mini rival derby there, who are in 15th. probably not going to get relegated, same as Kyoto. So pretty even fixtures. Technically Yokohama slightly easier. Now whether they can make it up is the tough parts. They would probably need to win both, put them on 69 points. Then they hope for a Vissel Kobe win and loss, or obviously 2 losses would be even better, but a win and a draw would make them both on 69 points. So it'll be very interesting to see how that ends. We'll be watching closely. And down at the bottom, as we said, Yokohama FC are away to Kashima, who are in 6th. That's on the final game day. And then they're at home to Shonan Bellmare this week. So that is going to be a huge match. The loser, well, if it's Yokohama, are pretty much 100%, well, almost 100% relegated. Does depend on Kashiwa, who are at home to Sagan Tosu, who aren't great either. So they will probably pick up maybe at least a draw. And a draw would be enough, because then Yokohama have to overturn about a 10-goal difference. So they'd have to win 2 5-0 wins and hope Kashiwa lose. Can't see that happening. The other game for Kashiwa, just to see, is away to Nagoya Grampus. So that would be tough. So you'd still think Kashiwa get at least a draw. So I'm pretty sure they are safe. It comes down to that match. So if Yokohama can win, it'll be 32-31. Shonan's other match is at home to FC Tokyo. Mid-place table team, nothing to play for. Maybe a sneaky chance for a point there. So as I said, Yokohama have to win that one. They just have to win, or else they're gone down to the J2 League, which we will go to now. The final match day just played. Very interesting ending. There was a 3-way battle for the final promotion spot between Iwata, Tokyo Verdy, and Shimizu S-Pulse, all hoping for wins. 2 of them got wins. Verdy winning 2-0 away at already relegated Omiya, and Iwata beating Tochigi 1-2 away from home. So Shimizu, I mean, they all played at the same time. I'm not sure who knew what, but Shimizu also had to win, obviously, looking back, and they drew against Mito. So a very poor result for Shimizu to go straight back up. Iwata goes straight back up with the newly promoted Machida, Mitch Duke's side. They're the first time in the first Japanese tier 1 Japan, so that's a great result. But yeah, Shimizu and Verdy will settle for the playoffs, and they will be competing with Yamagata and Jeff Chiba. Now, Yamagata made it in very late. They beat Kofu, and they were both at the same position, same points. The winner was pretty much in. Actually, winner was guaranteed in. If they drew, they both would have been out had Nagasaki won, which they did. Again, this was all played at the same time. Nagasaki won against Jeff Chiba, who also, well, they were already safe because of the Yamagata Kofu match. They both couldn't pick up 3 points because they were playing each other, so Chiba was safe. They'll settle for 6th, though. They would have liked to have been higher. But they will face Verdy in the playoffs away from home, and Yamagata will be playing Shimizu S-Pulse away from home. So the 2 winners will play off for the playoff final, single leg, winner up to J1 League. At the bottom, I think the results were already done and dusted a couple of weeks ago. Omiya Ardija relegated, as well as Kanazawa. We'll move on to the K-League now. They split their season halfway through so they split the teams from 1 to 6 and 7 to 12 after 33 matches. I think it's similar to Scotland. So it's a championship group and a relegation group. Top team wins, no playoffs. Ulsan have already won that a couple of weeks ago. They're on 73 points, well clear of Pohang Steelers on 60. This is now just about the Asian Champions League qualifications. So Pohang 60 points, Gwangju 58, Jeonbuk 54, Incheon 53, Daegu 50. First and second get Asian Champions League. Third gets Champions League but qualification, and fourth gets Champions League 2. Now, I think Pohang Steelers won the Korean FA Cup, so they're already guaranteed a spot in the Champions League. So I think if Gwangju finish third, they might actually go directly to the Champions League. I'll have to check how that has been changed. We'll have to check that out. Anyway, that's just about Asian Champions League. Not as exciting. The relegation group, though, a massive result in Suwon. Now, the Blue Wings have beaten Suwon FC 3-2 away from home. Huge win in a derby. Both fighting for relegation. Suwon FC 32 points after that loss. Gangwon 30 points and Suwon 29 with 2 games left. Suwon FC, though, actually have the worst goal difference despite the 3-point advantage. Now, the bottom team gets relegated automatically. 10th and 11th, there is a playoff. So, 10th and 11th, not as bad as you would think. 12th is the one that goes down. We'll have a look at the fixtures now for the relegation group. I'm not going to bother the championship group. It's just for Asian Champions League. Gangwon plays Suwon. So 32 points in 30. That's going to be a huge game. Blue Wings are away to Seoul. Nothing to play for. They are 54 points. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get anything against a Seoul side who have nothing to play for. Final game week. Suwon at home to Gangwon. So Suwon Blue Wings, bottom side playing the 2 above them, which I think they would want because you want to win and take your points away from your opposition. Obviously, a loss is much more detrimental because then you lose the 3 points and your oppositions get them. And the other match is Suwon FC at home to Jeju, who are safe. Again, nothing to play for. So, Blue Wings playing against the bottom 2 need points. Honestly, a win, and I can't say should be safe. It's going to be very tight. It's literally a little 3-way battle, 3-way mini round robin. Not all playing each other, I know, but for Suwon it is. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. And finally, in the K-League 2, Busan had a chance to secure automatic promotion with a win at Jeonnam, but they lost 3-0. Their main contender rival, Gimseong Sangmu, I think that's the army team, they drew, leaving the door open for Busan, but they couldn't get the result. It's now Busan 69 points, Gimcheon 68. Top side gets promoted. Second will settle for playoffs against the third, fourth, or fifth side. So I think fourth plays fifth. The winner will play third. And then the winner of that match will play second, which is guaranteed to be the Gimcheon or Busan. Final week. All games at the same time, as always. Busan at home to Cheongju. Cheongju are 8th on 51 points. They mathematically can still make into 5th, but they need to win. 3 teams above them need to lose, and they need a 12-goal swing. So a 6-0 win and a 6-0 loss for Bucheon, which is not going to happen. So I wouldn't say they're not going to try, but it's not as easy as they think for Busan. Gimcheon Sangmu at home to Seoul E-Land, who are on 35 points, nothing to play for. There is no relegation in K-League 2 to K-League 3, so nothing to play for Seoul E-Land, and they've lost 5 on the trot. So I think Gimcheon are going to get the win to push them up to 71 points. Busan can't even get a draw because that'll put them on 70. So they need a win at home to Cheongju. We'll find out what happens this week. That's it for the Asian leagues. I will cover some other ones later on. I think, as I said in the intro, Thailand I'm interested in. Again, for Asian Champions League and Australian team battles. Maybe a bit of Vietnam, Malaysia, and even the Chinese Super League, but we'll see how we go.